Welcome to the Champion Breakdown,
where we highlight the gold nuggets, the tips and tricks to help you become the best version of yourself in your journey to becoming a champion.
Oh my gosh, Paige was so good. She's amazing. I just have so many takeaways from that. She just really filled me up with so many good ideas too to just teach my kids.
Oh, same. And myself. I hope that we 10 years down the road, get a little surfer popping up saying, and I became a surfer because I listened to this one girl, Paige, and she said this, and I decided I was going to try surfing because she made me want to just go for it. And I'm not a kid.
I know. She made me feel like it's possible. I just love hearing that she didn't even try surfing until she was 9. Mm-hmm. I see all these kids out there right now, and man, we've heard that with other people too, but that you like still have a chance to be like literally world champion if you haven't even started your sport yet, at this, at the age of like 10. It's just amazing.
Yeah. It's wild. And I think this is going to be a story we hear over and over again too, but how she said, my mom just believed in me. She always told me I could. And if you're out there listening and you don't have a parent that is that style, because I think it's a gift. Sometimes you learn it and sometimes you have to train it. But if you don't, feel free to call your parents out when you tell them a dream and they say, oh, I don't know, just be like, dude, believe in me. Because from who we've listened to, it just feels like that's one of the most important things. And I love I loved the words she used where she said, I just choose not to live in fear. Because when I look at what she does, I don't know how a human can do that. I just don't get it. And she said this, when you live in fear, that means you're not living in the moment. You're living in either past or the future. So that's not living in the moment. I loved that.
I know, just the whole thing about staying present. And we've heard that before too, how important that is. And it really is something that's hard to do, is being present. But what's amazing about it too is that's why she loves her sport so much, because it forces her to be present and to be in the moment. And just, I would just say, like, if you're ever feeling like you're constantly worrying about the future, like future competitions or, future practices or whatever, or you're constantly living in the past, like worried about, a competition that you had and you didn't do well at, or even if you're in the moment in the middle of your competition and maybe you're a surfer and you had a bad wave, like, you're not focusing on that, right? You're focusing on the right now and the present, and that's where you're going to find the joy. And I just loved how she talked about that.
Mm-hmm. I also thought this was very beneficial for our listeners, where she said, you've got to be okay with saying no sometimes. Like, I think, being in the extreme sports world with my kids, sometimes there's all these people around geeing you up and telling you, you can do it, go for it. But it's okay to just like dig deep into your knowing, your inner knowing, your intuition, and just say, nope, it's not my day. That is a lesson that I hope everyone can learn, because it's powerful.
Yeah, that intuition is so powerful. And I've seen that with her before. I've seen her be out there at a big wave, competition, or even just a big wave day, like at Jaws, and the waves are firing and she knows what to do, but she just didn't feel it and she didn't go on anything. And I just think that that's so incredible for her to, be ready to go, get all amped up, get out there and not get out there and attempt to ride a wave, even though she wants it really bad. And that's just kind of like she said, that intuition of knowing what's right for yourself. And I think that's a really hard thing to find. But I think what you do to find that is you have those moments like that and you see that it actually did work out for you. And you can see like, okay, wow, this was really good. Or having moments where maybe you don't listen to your intuition and the outcome's not as good, but learning from that. And that's why we always talk about how failures are not, there's no such thing as failure, right? As long as you learn from what you look at as a failure. And that's going to be the same. That's how you're going to strengthen your intuition as well. And just getting to really know that. But I think also, like what she said, that it's just listening to your intuition doesn't mean you're giving into fear, right? It's not just saying, okay, I'm going to just say no to everything because there's so much fear or, whatever. For really finding that balance, like, is this my intuition telling me not to go, or am I just scared? So you're just going to have to really work on that and figure out how to really get to that point. But when you can, and like, okay, this is it, that's something that you got to just be really proud of and roll with it, keep using it.
Yeah, huge. And she was very specific when we asked about words. What words does she use? And she gave our listeners such good tips. She's like, what would you want your biggest supporters to tell you in that moment? They might not be there with you, but what would you want them to say? I thought that was beautiful. And she also, you know, I think a lot of these athletes we put on a pedestal. She's like, yeah, I have negative thoughts all the time, but it's just your ability to just make the switch and the pivot and say those things that's going to pull you out.
I know. And how about when she was talking about, you know, along with affirmations, that she uses a lot of visualization like that? I literally got chills when she talked about that. You guys, it's so important to visualize. She even said it. She doesn't know one person that's been at the top of their sport that wasn't a visualizer. And so if you're not doing that yet, to really just get in the habit of doing that. And you can start by doing it by even little small things. You don't have to have this like big accomplishment of, you know, riding a huge big wave to be able to start doing this. You can start doing this in so many different ways throughout your life. And it doesn't even have to specifically be for sport. This could be all things in life. This is how manifesting works, is it starts with visualization. And I want to say I can't believe it, but I can believe it. But it's just amazing to hear that she literally, when she was actually riding the wave, couldn't remember if that was real or not because she had already ridden it in her visualizations, you know?
Yeah. When she said that, I was like, boom, thank you. Especially when she says, duh. Yeah, of course, everyone visualizes.
Yeah,
and if you're not, I mean, you're really giving yourself a handicap. Let's just put it that way. You're not giving yourself the best chance to be the best you are. And you might not believe it yet, but just put it to the test and try. And if you don't know how to visualize, we should probably do a little recording with some tips and tricks for that, because it's when Paige said that, like, she had the same feeling, like she'd felt those feelings before. That's what it is a lot about. It's like conjuring up the feeling. So we'll talk more about that later. But I love when she said, you can do anything with visualizing, and you can manifest anything you want, but you got to match it with the hard work and with sacrificing and saying no sometimes. Like, I imagine a lot of our young athletes are going to be missing a lot of social times, you know, saying no to that to look forward to their bigger dream and vision in life. And in the moment, it might not be that fun, but it's worth it and it's okay.
I mean, I've already had this conversation with my oldest son because he's already having to sacrifice certain social things for some of his sports. And he has, you know, sometimes told me that he would rather do the social thing. And I'm like, dude, I get it. I grew up ski racing and I sacrificed. I don't remember really going to much of any social events. And I think that sometimes can make you feel like an outcast when you go back to school or when you're back hanging around the friends, because you didn't get to go to that social thing that everybody was at. But I can tell you that it's worth it for so many reasons. Even if you are doing your sport and you don't end up taking it to, you know, to be a gold medalist or to be an Olympian or whatever, like that doesn't matter. I'm telling you, like the things that you're going to learn along the way from doing those, being, you know, that sacrifice, doing those sacrificial things to grow as a person, to strengthen yourself, you're going to be so, it's probably hard for you to hear it, but you're going to be so happy for it. And, you know, the thing is that when you're part of something, when you're part of a sport, when you're part of a team, or it doesn't even have to be athletics, but when you've said yes to something, staying, you know, like just like she talked about, like staying in integrity and living in passion, like you've said yes to that. So you are going to finish out what you're doing. You're not going to, you know, the one day that this sounds more fun to do, that you're going to say yes to that, because that's not part of being in integrity. And being in integrity means continuing to do what you said you were going to do. And I love that she talked about that.
Me too. And what's going to happen too, as you make that choice, is you're going to vibrate at such a high level and attract the people that you're going to want to be friends with for life. So socially, it's actually going to bless you even more by making that sacrifice, I believe.
I've seen that happen so many times, right? But like when you're young, sometimes you're like, what? I don't get it. I can't see it. And then as you get older, you can look back and be like, oh my gosh, like I can look back for sure and be like, I'm so glad that I didn't take the easy route, you know?
Mm-hmm. I was surprised at what she said a champion meant to her. And then when it came out of her mouth, I was like, yep, that makes sense. That fits her. And she's a champ. It is who she is.
She is a champ. I love
Living
it.
in truth.
Living in truth. Yep. Oh, so fun having her.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for listening to this recap. I cannot wait for you to hear from our next guest, and the journey to your best self continues.